Like I had posted the screenshot of one of the clients I helped, and he was saying how, you know, I forgot what's the, I think the percentage increase was like 40 or 50%. I think
Wow.
of what he made in like 6 months. I think they went from like 45K to like almost like 75 or whatever. Like he's in the South, so I think he's
Okay.
in Alabama. So the fact that I was able to help with that, like I tell people, a lot of people say, "Hey, y'all can believe blind Twitter, whoever you want to, man. $75,000 is like life changing for like a lot of people."
For sure.
And especially when we talk about our community, when we know what those metrics are, like what the median household income is. I always tell people all the time on the pod, I said, I don't even know if my parents probably made like 50K put together growing up.
Yeah.
Granted, I was in Louisiana and Shreveport, so couldn't really tell because stuff is kind of priced a little bit appropriately. But even still, after that, as a recruiter, you may be keen on. And this wasn't the questions I gave you, but I figured it'd be something easy. So I have two stances on this, right? There are people who have a lot of experience in other places that have the transferable skills that they can warrant a high salary in a
Mhm.
tech role. Then there are people that don't have those transferable skills and they don't have any really not a lot of experience or accomplishments under their belt, and they want to jump right into a high salary. What are your thoughts on that? Because my thoughts are like, you know, take what you can get. I mean, negotiate, but take what you can get in the beginning because you're trying to just build your experience up. Those other people who have, certain level of experience, they may not get exactly what they're looking for, but they still probably get more than a person that doesn't necessarily have like a lot of experience. Have you ran across this with people that's maybe saying, I went to this boot camp and now I'm trying to be like a software engineer, and they're trying to like, man, I'm finna knock this, stuff out the park. This is what I want to get. And then versus the people that got experience. Have you ran into that?
It's just the same process. One thing I will say is make sure that you prepare really good for those interviews, because a lot of things are going to be based off of the interviews that you do. I would say, and it's a little difficult for me to speak because it's based off of, when I look at the process, I'm looking at it from a software engineering point,
Gotcha.
right? And so a lot of those things are just based off of how good can you code, right? But when we're thinking about other areas, getting into tech, maybe some of the non-technical areas, I would definitely say let's break in first. So let's break in first. If you do have some type of transferable skills, you may not start off making six figures. I didn't start off making six figures, but I built my way up. And so I would say be patient with it. And there is opportunities for promotions that come really quick. I got my first promotion at Microsoft in 7 months. So give yourself some time, give yourself some grace to kind of learn and get into the space, but let's break in first.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that because that's giving us a good chance and a way to segue into this question about like what would be a reasonable salary for an entry level recruiter or sourcer.
Yeah. And I don't mind sharing my first salary coming in. Now, remind you, I was using my transferable skills. I had no recruiting experience. I was coming from sales, which were a lot of good transferable skills. Being able to talk on the phone with customers, just like I talk on the phone with my candidates, being able to achieve metrics, things like that. So when I first went over to Google on a contract, that's another thing too to keep in mind. I was in a contracted role, and so it's a little different than what you would receive working for the actual company. But they offered me $40 an hour originally for my contract at Google. And then I negotiated because that's what you're supposed to do. I asked for $43 an hour and they gave me $42 an hour. And
Damn.
so that equates to about 94,000, I want to say $93,000. And so, yeah, I wasn't six figures just going in. Now, I will say the market is changing now. Salaries aren't for recruiting or sources aren't as high coming in anymore. And there is a difference between agency recruiting and tech recruiting. I would say some of the agency sourcing recruiting roles may range from more like 75 to 85 for entry level. And then, your tech salaries, I started off at 94, but I would say it's somewhere between 80, 90, 95.